So I'm going to try to implement the next changes that I want to do there. And probably the first thing that I'm going to try to do is to change how I'm scanning the directory in the first place. So I'm just going to put on the constructor the call for scan. I think I'm going to call directly the function that scans the directory instead of the constructor of the class, and then I'm going to remove from the other class. Yeah, the problem with doing directly is that I'm not sure about the pointers there. So this is the issue. But I guess I'm gonna see. Because the node has to be on inside of the tree for the process to run. And I don't remember exactly what function is the one that creates a new directory. But regardless of which one it is, I'm gonna have to call that function because that's the function that initializes the state for all the directories. So it might not be possible to, not that it might not be possible, but I'm gonna have to see if I need to change the class or not to be able to call the function from the constructor. I guess maybe I should try to figure out if how to make it so that it doesn't show the REST directory first. And once I figure that out, then I should implement the REST. Because in the beginning, I just realized that I probably shouldn't, unless yeah. Because it's gonna change when I have the configuration, because the configuration is gonna have the cache, and then I want to display a button with the open folder option in case there isn't a previous directory on the cache. So let me think about this. I'm not sure which order I'm gonna go with. To remember last path, open this thing. This is the mini, so I'm doing steps on steps. So in the current step that I am, that's what I wrote last time. Route how show folders, that's, I think I've already figured this out, but I'm getting warning there. And that's what I was gonna do here. So there's both this and the uncollapsed paths that is kind of annoying. Maybe I have to change as well how it works. Just removing all the breakpoints because now I already understand how the class works. So the main thing that I don't know very well yet is the get uncollapsed paths function. So this function that creates the tree is gonna be called after it gets, it's gonna be called from the certain parts with the update tree gets called with the passing the get uncollapsed paths as an argument. So the get uncollapsed paths is the function that is going to create the, it's going to see which of the folders are uncollapsed. But this part's kind of weird. So it gets, this is the thing that I don't like very much, I think. Is like, I'm not really sure even if I don't like very much, it's just that it is kind of confusing to me. Because it doesn't feel right to do it like this. Because the problem is, but it might be the only option. I guess not actually. So I think it makes more sense to put this information on the other class instead of the doc. Because it doesn't make sense for this class here to, is it basically the way that it is working is that you have to call update tree first, I think, in order to create the tree, and then from that point you call it again. But this time it's gonna have the state of the tree because you created last time. As far as I understand, maybe I'm misunderstanding how it works, but that's the only way that I see this working. Because if you need to have the first child of the roots, which is the from the tree, then it means that you need to create the tree first. But so like it's kind of like you have to create the tree, then you create the unclasped maps, and then you create the tree again. That's why it's kind of weird. So I think it makes more sense if I put this information on the file system class. So that the first time that it traverses, it already has it's gonna get the state of what folders uncollapsed. So it should probably be a variable on one of this, I think it's a struct on either one of those classes, the file system or the file system directory, to keep track of which folders are collapsed, and then I can remove this vector here. That's probably better. So yeah, because they are already doing this, so that's probably what I'm gonna do. The way that they initialize the tree item, which is the front end, the visualization part of the tree, is based on the information of the file system already. So I think it makes more sense to get the information from there. So by default, the roots should be uncollapsed. That makes more sense. I'm also thinking about like the way to display this, because I think that the way the VS Code displays is probably nicer than the way that they have there. Because like you do want to have the option to collapse the root, I think. But maybe it's not necessary. Maybe I shouldn't display the roots actually. I should just display the direct child of the roots on the same level. That's probably better actually. Because I never felt the need to collapse this. And I never used these other options here. It might be useful, but I think that's probably not. If it is useful, it's not that useful, I think. So probably what I'm gonna do is just see if I can skip the first. I have to understand more how the other classes work though to make that happen. I have to spend some time studying the tree class. That's probably what I'm gonna do. But before I do this, I think it's probably better to figure this other stuff here. So the problem that I'm having now is that when I removed some stuff that checks for whether or not the path begins with a dot, I'm getting some warning on the thread that it's telling me that I should call wait to finish or something on the thread. So I think that, not really sure why that's happening, but once you include the dot folders, there's a lot more files and folders because there is the cache on the .godot folder path. So probably I should fix the beginning first and see if the warning goes away. Let's see here. So this is the root. This is the first child from the root. This is the root. The first child, and it's gonna push. I think this is breadth first search that they are doing. So you push the root and then you loop until the queue is empty. And then each iteration you get from the queue, the current one. Then you pop from the queue. So it's basically breadth first search. The TI is collapsed. So it already has on the tree item the information, I think. Yeah, but this is the thing. So maybe they are doing the way that I was talking about. Like they're making this based on. No, but from what I remember there on the update tree or on the create tree, it gets from the path. Yeah, so it sets the uncollapsed on the thing based on the uncollapsed paths. Because this is the part that I don't understand very well. So this is basically gonna check to see if the path exists there. So this condition I know, and this is the one that is breaking there, is going through the example that I have there. It's basically gonna set you through this because this path is the current path and it doesn't exist on the collapse path, which is the one that gets created by the other function there, which gets passed to this one. But the other example here, I didn't spend time, but I think that this is usually not passed there on the function. So I have to see on the, I'm gonna see. The problem is there's a bunch of stuff here. So just see on the defaults. So the default's gonna be false, so it's probably gonna be false. So it's not gonna hit the condition there. So I can like dismiss this, so it's probably gonna go based on this, which means it's getting from the unclassed path. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. This is also confusing for me with the recursion. It's very hard to think about. I think it's just natural to struggle with recursion because the problem with recursion is that you have to think about how it's going to work with the backtrack. So I think that's when it becomes very hard. So you have to imagine what's going to happen when the function hits the base case. And from that point, how it's going to go back to the one level before it hits the base case to continue the execution from that point. And what the state of the variables is going to be at that point. That's why it's very hard to think about it. And I think that the base case is going to be based on the functions here, probably. So it's going to recurse until it hits a point where it doesn't have any, or where the current directory doesn't have any subdirectories. And then it's going to backtrack from that point, and it's going to continue the execution from here. But then how does that work? Because at that point, it's not going to have a return statement here. So it hits the base case there. And then what happens? Oh, then it's gonna continue the loop, I think. No, but like this is the thing that is confusing. Because if it's gonna continue the loop, you should probably put thing here just to see the value. So press F5 a bunch of times. Because that's the problem. If it continues, so let's say it hits the base case here, and then it goes back to this spot here. It's not gonna have returned the function. So I guess I think it just continue. Yeah, but then it doesn't make sense. Yeah, so it has to stop here and then continue. No, but like on the last time after it hits, it continues from that point. And then on the previous one, it returns at the end there. And once it returns, it goes back on the other stacks to this point, and then it continues with this point. I'm just gonna press F5 much times. This always confuses me a lot with recursion. Okay, so I'm gonna go until I get to the base case, just see what is gonna happen. It might be annoying now because there is including the folders with the dots. So there's gonna be a lot of folders. So it might take a while to get to the points where it's not gonna recurse anymore. Okay, yeah. So the last time that it goes, but then what is the value of this? So how is this false? The problem is kind of hard to think about how to ask questions about this. This ChatGPT or Perplexity is not gonna be very good, and it's kind of hard to phrase for YouTube or search engines. Like it's continuous. Yeah, but maybe it's the debugger that's kind of deceiving. But as far as I understand now, it's just continuing. Like less parts that it recurses, it's gonna continue from here. But then it assumes that this value is false, even though it didn't finish the recursion. So how does that work? I guess it's false by default. Also, it's false here. So that's why. So it's gonna get the value from here. So because it didn't hit any branch on the last time, it's gonna be false. Then continues and then backtracks after it returns. So it makes sense. It makes sense, but it's still hard to understand how it's going to determine how it's going to use this to expand the folder. Parent should expand. Okay, so I think it only matters on this line here. So this is when you're searching. So search string length is greater than 0. And it's gonna set the collapse to false. And the parent should expand. So it's doing based on the search. It finds the string on one of the folders, then or find on the name, then it's gonna set to true. So the question is whether or not it's necessary to do this. I guess it is because on some cases it's gonna return there and it's gonna change the value based on the return. But in what situations would it be? I'm not really sure if it makes sense to make it equal here. Because the only times where this is gonna be true is when it's set as true here. So like what is the point? Because at that point the other times it already executed true. here. I guess it's because on the when it backtracks, it's gonna be true by default. Yeah, so it's just changing the default. I think that's the point of doing this. Because I think that's like it goes until it hits the deepest directory subdirectory, and then if that one is true, then it expands the other ones. But it's still kind of. Yeah, but I guess it has to be that case. Yeah, it has to be the case. So they make it equal here to change the defaults of the value. Yeah, I think I understand now. So if it finds any string, any subdirectory that has the file with the name or the folder with the name of the search string, is gonna turn that into true, which means is recursively when it backtracks, is gonna make all the other folders that contain that file or folder to uncollapse. So that makes sense. Oh, the other thing that I realized is that I was thinking about how to implement the functionality to open the IDE as you select a file, and then I realized that they already have this on the editor, so I can just study the flow that they use there. Because on the selection, I've already seen that they have functions here. After you select the file, is going to change the values, I think, on the tree. But I haven't seen what happens, like how is this related to the GD script. So I'm probably gonna follow the same pattern that they have on the GD script, because basically this exact same thing that I'm trying to do now. So the other thing that I was gonna look here is if they use anything from the directory to determine whether or not the folder is gonna be set to true, or it's gonna be collapsible. The subdirectory has to be here. So the only thing that they do is this stuff here. So how do they determine based on the tree which one it is collapsed? Because this one is always going to be false in the first time, because it doesn't have anything on the collapsed. If it didn't initialize the tree before, and this is always going to be false, and this is always going to be false. No, this is always going to be true because it doesn't have there. Current path. Oh, so this is the root, I think. So this is going to be false by default. But if it is, so I guess I need to set it. Oh, that there are some situations where it calls there with true, I think. And collapse roots. So there are some situations where it calls with the true as the second argument. Which probably changes the. So it pushes here. So I think that's how they make sure that the root is uncollapsed. So the other thing that I'm gonna see, like if I make it the way that I'm thinking about, where I'm not gonna show the root path, then I need to spend time studying the dir access class and the other one as well, the file access, I think, to understand because they probably have functions, I assume. True. But I have to understand the relationship between the access resources and the access file system. Hmm. Like there's two options. One is to change here, and the other one is to change on the update tree. As I'm thinking about how can I make it so that the first folder, which is the root folder, is not included. As far as I understand, the first one that it creates there doesn't matter for the visualization, because it's just creating the root of the tree, but the root of the tree is not part of the visualization. So first time that it calls this, like this time here is going to create the roots, and then it's determined based on the name, which comes from the other class. So the question is, so obviously I can make it based on the same condition here to skip the problem is that it is recursive, so I would have to, I guess just calling recursively. Yeah, if I just copy the way that they call the recursion there and I call it recursively here instead of setting the name. I guess probably that's the easiest way to do it. Because that way it would skip the, and then you would defeat the purpose of having true on the update tree there, on the variable that you pass, because the root will never be on the visualization. And the question is like, would it make sense to make that part of the tree or not? Because it might fuck up everything else. But I think it probably wouldn't, because the recursion depends on the other class. So this one is going based off the, and this one has to pass a subdirectory item. So I should probably create outside and leave the recursion out of the thing. That's probably easier. So I create the first, yeah, but it wouldn't be. No, I would get, yeah, instead of passing the roots, I get the child and then I pass. Like if I did this, it would also make it easier. And I guess it wouldn't change that. So I'm gonna try to do this. So first I'm gonna continue to, I'm just gonna press F5 a bunch of times to see if I can fix the error. But maybe the error that I have there is gonna fix itself once I change the file. Once I change the class, the file system class. So what I'm thinking about doing is here, instead of passing the root folder, which this file system there is gonna be the class on the other class that has the state of the root of the directory that's supposed to open. So I'm gonna cast this outside of this, and then I just pass the first child. Yeah, but I have to loop. So I loop outside the first level the same way that they are doing there, and then I call the function. I call the function each time instead of the loop. So like you would consider the first level as the root for each one on the other function. So basically remove this, cast outside, and then loop over the roots from outside and call the create tree for each child, each direct child of the root. And then instead of passing this, I'm gonna change so that I get from the states of the class as well. So I'm gonna cache this on the file system. Which one is supposed to be collapsed, and if there isn't a cache, then everything starts as collapsed. So I don't need to pass this uncollapsed paths here. That's probably a lot simpler. So I'm gonna remove the uncollapsed paths, and then I don't need the other function as well. I make it based on the other class. And then if I need, I can change all the other functions to just access the value from this class. I think that makes a lot more sense. Because the class that is gonna hold the cache is gonna be the file system class. So basically this class. So here I'm thinking about calling scan. I always forget the name of the scan directory or something. Scan new directory. I'm thinking about calling from here and just passing the value from the class. I'm gonna do this first, but then right after I figure, like if I test and everything that I'm thinking about works, then I'm going to change the class so I can put. I'm probably gonna look into the other classes to see how to put the button there. Maybe it's easier to do it from the editor. So add a child, add a button as a child, then see how it looks, then I copy. Yeah. Not really sure if it's gonna work to call this there. Also, I was gonna look as well. It's not this one, it's the scan that. But the problem is I need to, so I probably should initialize this outside as well. This is another thing that I'm not really sure because like it's gonna involve the threads, so it is kind of annoying. The problem here is like this, in order for this to work, I have to create the other class, and this class is created on the scan file, on the scan function, with the pointer thing that I was looking at last time, which is very annoying. So this is the first time that it's, so the other, so as far as I understand right now, the way that they initialize on the editor with the original file system class is that they call the scan function. Then the scan function sets up a thread and then puts another function as a callback that is gonna call this function here. So this function is gonna be run from a thread, and then it's gonna initialize this pointer to the memory here to the class, and then it's gonna use this one as the root on this one here. Then it's going to generate the linked list that links the subdirectories with the roots and gets all files and folders for each directory. So this file represents a level of the file system, like level of the folder. Each folder is on this one. And then it links them together to this linked list here. I think it is a linked list. It's basically just linking the pointers to each instance of the class. So it's not really a linked list, but it's connecting through pointers. And then the issue is that the way that it's gonna update the original file system, which is the one that is supposed to use on the other class, is based on the pointers that it has on the notification process. So initialize everything with that new file system variable, which is a pointer that creates the root of the folder. And then on the notification process is going to update based on this. So this is going to be true because by default, Godot uses a thread. So if isn't true, it's not even going to run here. I haven't looked into the flow of what happens if we're not using threads. So maybe we should do that as well now. But then it's basically gonna go here because it's gonna have finished scanning and the threads already started. And this is the part that was confusing me because this is something that is confusing since the beginning for me. But basically a pointer is just a value, and the difference is that the value of a pointer is an address in memory. And the value of other variables, that the normal variables, are actual values. So when you make this here, so this is the original pointer that they're going to use on the other class. When they make this equal to this one, then and then when they make this one equal to null pointer, this assignment here is not going to change the value of this because this is already pointing to pointing to the same place that this was pointing at, which is the class there that they use memnew to instantiate, which is the class that contains the state. So it's basically saying like point this to the place in memory where this variable or where this pointer was used to initialize. Initializes the class on the heap, then makes this pointer point to that class. Then it generates the folder structure based on this one, which creates the linked list of the subfolders, and has all the information starting from this pointer. Then makes this pointer should be equal to this one. So it means that this one is going to be pointing to that same place in memory, and then makes this one equal to the null pointer. And this is the point that is going to update the value here. And then after this, is going to finish the thread, which means it's not going to hit this again, because it's like a flag. So when the thread finishes executing, so this is basically waiting for the thread to finish. Next time on the process is not going to hit this. And I think also it sets the process to false, so it means that the notification process for the class is not going to run as well. So it's basically just setting flags here. Then emits the signal, which also is going to trigger some other function on the other class and on the editor node as well. And the points that I'm trying to make is that in order to call the scannew directory directly, scannew dir directly on the constructor, I have to set this variable here. But then if I do that, it might fuck up the stuff that they have here already. So I'm probably, but since my class is not connected to anything on the editor node, and I also have the other class there, maybe it's not going to be that difficult. So I guess the easiest way to do it is to try. That's probably what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to remove the call that I'm doing there. I think I was doing the call in this class just to see when I was trying to figure out what was wrong. But probably the way to do it is to initialize this directly and then not use this pointer. on the beginning, on the constructor of the class. So initialize this one, then pass this one to the scan new directory, and it's gonna hold the state already. And then I don't use threads. I'm gonna press F5 a bunch of times. So it's doing here. So I'm gonna comment this one out. Also, it is creating one here. So I guess I can use this one already directly here. Scan. I'll just see how they. I'm gonna call it the same way that they do. I think you also have to change the entry points to the SO. I think that probably I don't understand 100% well yet, but I think that the reason why they create these other ones because of the thread. So they create a new one, but I don't understand very well if that's the case. Or is because like you need to have another variable so you can update one. So it's like similar to double buffering. As you update the other one, it don't damage the state of the previous one. But they're just pointers, so it should be like if they are pointing to the same place. No, but then you're moving the pointer to the new one on this, and then you're changing a new place in memory, and that's why they delete there on the process. So like there's a moment when there is multiple threads where there's two different pointers, two different places in memory, and then I think that's the reason why they do it like this. So every time that you update the system, it doesn't damage the, like if there are other threads or something else happening, it's gonna be able to still get access to the file system because they don't delete. So I think that makes sense. But for my stuff, probably not necessary in the beginning, unless I'm gonna use threads. But if I use threads, I can do the same thing that they do here. Oh, I was gonna look into the. So is the directory. So I'm looking into how they do it with when there is no threads. So the first function, as far as I understand, that's gonna run is this one. So it's currently on the build that I have is gonna go through this one, which uses a thread, which just sets this callback, which calls the other one. But here, I think, yeah, so it's just calling directly here, and then it deletes. So this is basically what it's doing there. Yeah, so instead of this function, it's gonna call the file, it's gonna create the file system there. But why is, This could be something that I changed, but I think probably not. No, yeah. So it makes sense because it's gonna use this one, I think. Oh, so it uses the new one. It's basically the same pattern, but they're doing right away. But I think I can do it directly with the this one. So they do the same thing that the other function does, and then they delete the current one if it does exist already, and then they just transfer the pointer and then makes this a null pointer. Yeah, so I think it makes sense. A file system there. I think I can use this one if I build on the constructor and I don't need to do the other. So I'm gonna press F5 a bunch of times, sure. Got you the points there. Because there is a message, but maybe I should compile already and see if I remove the call from inside of the constructor of this class and I build the directory on the other constructor, if the call is gonna go away. I'm gonna do that, so I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna compile again. Just gonna make sure that this comment's commented out. It's just yeah. So let's see if he breaks. So I'll be right back. So this is another problem. Since I removed the, so I guess I can. So the warning there from the threads went away, but now I'm getting this other one. So I can just change the thing there, I think. Uh, yeah, but I guess this is an empty folder. The other thing that I have to do there is to implement the delete, because on this one it doesn't have the delete option. I don't remember if this one has, but I think it's because of the shortcuts, so I commented out. Yeah, so this one has. So this is gonna be, but I think I'm probably gonna do this later, because I have to figure out a way to do shortcuts. So I'm probably gonna study the macro that they use, or the function that they use there. Yeah, this don't have anything, so. So it's, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it begins with. So I'm going to, is it a comment routes in two places, I think. Just gonna change two dots instead of one. But I don't think that's, so this one, I don't know why it's not. And maybe it's because I'm not calling. So I'm gonna do the same thing, you just put two dots here, but it's not gonna change anything. And the only reason why it's showing the folders and files is because of the scan new directory, because it builds based on that in the first time there. So since I'm not calling anywhere, I think, but maybe it is calling, scanfs changes. I know that it's gonna call on the other one, with the file system change signal, but I don't remember what it does here. Yeah, it doesn't call anything, I think. It just updates to 3. Yeah, so probably on the dialogues, it does call at some point a function that is gonna call the scan directory. So I should probably test that, but I think that doesn't matter that much. Because if the other one is working, then it means that, probably means that this one is gonna work as well. This might be problematic actually, because the way that I'm initializing the access there. That's whatever. I just forgot which color is this. That should be this one, I think. Yeah, nice. Yes, now I think it is working. Nice. It has the slider here as well already. So now they uncollapse paths. And now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do this stuff that I was talking about. So what I'm thinking about is gonna be here. I hate when it does this. Then I copy the way that they do there, I think. The problem is the files though. Hmm. So how can I make sure that it gets I'm I'm thinking about doing this. This is gonna be based on the order. Because I don't wanna put this stuff. What I can do is put on another function and then call the function here and call the function on the other one. I'm thinking about, so like if I do it the way that I'm thinking about, just gonna pass this loop there outside, and then I'm gonna call from the roots. But then I have to incorporate the files for the roots. So I'm thinking about doing later after I run the loop for all the folders. Just copy the code that they have here, and I put there on the other function. So I include the files for the roots. This is something that I can change maybe as well. I feels kind of that the main reason for them to do this, I think, is based. I guess like they loop one time, then they put on the other one so they can sort, and then they use the sorted list loop here. That's not sure if that's necessary. And the other question is, can I put this on another function? And I kinda wanna avoid putting on the other function. But if I paste there, it's gonna be kind of annoying. Because like empty things. Hmm. Maybe the easier solution is to do something here. Just call recursive there, and then whatever. The thing, I'm pretty sure that the only one that's gonna be empty is the root though. And so in order to clarify this, I have to look into this to make sure. And I'm gonna go over the pipeline there. So it calls this, that's one. This is the first one, creates here, passes here. So it comes from this thing. Yeah, this might be a problem actually. Because it might have something to do with the way that the directory access, their access class is going to assign names. But how should, yeah, so it is here. So I guess the only one that's not gonna have a name is the root because they assign the names here. And this is the subdirectory. So the first one doesn't have. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's only gonna be the root. So I think it's probably easier to just call here instead. So if it is the root, just call recursively and skip everything. I'm gonna try this one. The problem is it's gonna mess up the child there. Because on the first one, so I should probably do on top of this. And first I'm gonna do here. And if it works, I move the other one. Or, yeah, you're probably just gonna comment around and leave it there. And then put another comment to explain what I did. Oh, it has to be. So these ones don't depend on the other one. This over here. Ah, so I can move this through here. And just delete here. So maybe if I do... Ah, this is the issue. Like, how to loop anyway. So if I loop here and I call, does it make sense? Because it's gonna skip the files, I think. Like the problem is that in the way that is working now, it makes sense because like the first child is gonna be the root, and the first child is the one that matters for the other function, and then everything connects to that folder, that node on the tree. If I do it, if I loop there and then I do it here, then there's multiple different ones that connect to the roots, and the root's not a part of the visualization there. So the first child is just gonna be the first subfolder, which is not very good. And then you would probably add a bunch of times as well the files for the roots. So I'm not really sure if I can do it like this. But if I put there on the other function, then it's kind of annoying because I have to copy a bunch of code there. Either I have to copy a bunch of code or create another function, which I don't like. And the other thing that I was thinking about before is that I can remove some stuff from here, but not sure. Maybe I already did last time. So since this is harder to figure out, I think I'm gonna do the other thing first. Yeah, but the thing is, like if I do it like this, then I don't need to do the other thing. The other thing is to figure out how to go from the RAS path, get the absolute path that represents the RAS path, and then just get the last item of the path, which is basically what they are doing here, to display the name of the folder. And I think that I don't need to do that. Either way. Yeah, but I am going to I need to get the roots either way, I think. So that's probably what I should do now. And then after I do this, then I think about this other stuff. So let me see, because I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this as well, because I don't understand very well the functions on the dir access. So I need to go from in the beginning there as well. How do I go from this path to the absolute path? And then I need to set. It's kind of annoying because like I couldn't find a way, because they use the path both on this class on the other one. And right now I'm setting this one based on the other one, so on the initialization there, on the constructor of the class. But it's not very good because obviously if I change here, then I have to remember to change on the other one. And I'm not really sure if there's a way, like another way to not have to do this. Because I think like it was just a quick fix that I had to do to make these functions work, because they provide the path based on the roots and this one. Oh, so this is the name of the folder. Then it joins with the roots. Hmm. Maybe I can just remove, because the reason why I did this is because it messes up the history because of the pattern. That's very annoying. Like if I don't show the root folder, then it automatically fixes. I can just remove this thing here, because I think the P here is going to be the router path from the roots of the project. And the only reason to have this one now is because it prevents the history from fucking up there when you select another thing. And it doesn't make sense to put this as a prefix as well when you have the full path, because then you would just show the entire root. Let me remember how it is. Because I'm pretty sure there on the file system is going to show the path on top there, which is also something that I'm probably going to remove. So maybe it doesn't matter actually. Yeah, this is probably only relevant to the display there. So let me. It's interesting as well. I think if I remove the prefix, it doesn't matter. Just better. So when you select here, let's have to play. When you select, it changes whatever displays here. So if you don't have the prefix there, then it messes up the history here. It's also interesting that it's collapsing when I do this. So I think that doesn't matter that much. I'm just gonna remove this thing here after I change the other. So I have to see how to go from that path to the absolute path. So how to convert. Oh, so it probably is this one that I want. Localize. This one is used some other parts there. I'm gonna try this one because I think this one is gonna work. So after I change this, I'm gonna have to change the other ones, I think. But maybe not because the other ones they already look for the pattern. Yeah. So I'm gonna try this one. Localize path. So let's see what happens. And so first, task with the RAS. Because I'm gonna have to change this anyway. I'm probably gonna create a function. So in the beginning, I'm gonna get from the config file, which is gonna have the cache. If it doesn't have the whatever values I'm gonna save on the cache, then I'm just display a button instead. Hmm. Yeah, so I probably should put a flag variable in this class, and then on the other class I do it based on that flag variable. So right after I initialize the class and the constructor. Hmm. Oh, and this is kind of a problem as well. Should probably use something else. Because the issue is, like, what if you put RAS or user? It doesn't matter. So, like, I'm thinking about if you put the if when you click on the button on the beginning, that is gonna open the first directory for the first time. If you put the special paths as the folder, if it is gonna be a problem. But I don't think you will because it doesn't really matter if the person using has access to the user RAS directory. But you should definitely be careful with this. Maybe it is a problem. It still shows brass. I should probably print. But it's no, but this one should be based on another one. So I'm gonna print to see if I'm getting the correct one. I think you can use print line. I think the problem is that it's gonna have the special path and it's gonna return the path. So I have to use another function, I think. But I should have tested last time as well. What I'm thinking more about is like how can I, if I need to prevent the path from being the special paths, or if I don't need to do this. I think I probably don't, because it doesn't matter. It's kind of like being able to access the settings for VS Code. Like it doesn't really matter if you have access to the settings or. But I think it does become a problem. Maybe it can become a problem if it is a multiplayer thing. But even then, it's kind of doesn't matter that much. Yeah, like it's already more dangerous to have access to the file system than it is to have access to the special paths. So if you have access to the file system, you have access to any path. Yeah, so I don't think it matters that much. Yeah, so I think the problem here is that it's gonna find the special thing here, it's gonna return the path. So it doesn't do anything. The thing that I'm looking for is maybe I should do this thing. I'm gonna ask LLM, maybe this globalized path. I wanna try this one first, then I'll ask probably Perplexity for suggestions. Let's try this one. It's probably easier to look for. Which last path is gonna be the round path. Yeah, nice. So it is working now. Question is, what happens when I select a different one? It's showing the full path here. Yeah, this is the problem. So, but I guess it is probably changing. It just has the prefix. Yeah. So if I remove I think if I remove the prefix, it's gonna break on the history there, but it doesn't matter that much. So I'm gonna do that now. So I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna first remove this get path. First remove from here, just see what happens. And if this works, I'll go back to the way that it was. Because on the original one, they have the RAS string, and then plus the other one. I think that it is empty in the beginning because it's gonna get. Oh, but maybe not. So I have to look into the selection logic because that's the one that matters. There's this one. So yeah, the name is different on the path. So the first one is gonna be empty. The path, I think. Because the first one doesn't have a name. But it should be. So the path is just basically the name. Hmm. Oh no, it's based on the parents. So it's going over the parents and joining each one. So you guess the name of each one and then joins. So when it doesn't have the prefix, it's going to be empty on the beginning, I think. So how do I put the prefix without having to put it on this class here? That's the question. I guess if I set the name of the first one, yeah, I should set the name of the first. It should be the name that I have there, and then I'm gonna have to change the logic on the other one. So here, instead of looking for the empty, I just set the name on the other class. That makes more sense, I think. And then I don't need just the check here. Yeah, I think that makes more sense. Yeah, so this. I think it doesn't matter that much. The problem is when you select here, it gets empty. So probably the best way to solve this is the way that I was thinking about. So I just comment this stuff out here. And then on the other one, I when I'm initializing, or just set should be so on this one, set should be the name of the I'm gonna delete this stuff and then I initialize here as well. So let's see if this works. Because it's still gonna get the same path. I think the only reason why the other one matters is because it was adding the name, but I'm not really sure. Oh, name. There's more stuff. This stuff I'm still not using yet, I think. And uses on so on the metadata, how does current path works? I have to change this one here as well, I think. But I think I'm setting on the constructor. I might have to change. So I think I have to change this to a globalized path as well. But maybe not. It doesn't matter because if it is an absolute path, it's just gonna get same path. I have to change on the other one because on the other one I have to convert from the special path to this one. But if I use the absolute path, then it's gonna return the correct path. You only it wasn't working on the other one because it was working the original path. So it doesn't change if I pass with the special character, special pattern. I don't think that I have to change that. Yeah, I think that's doesn't matter. It's gonna get from the other one. I'll be right back. And still, there's something on the selection. Still, it is blank there. Hmm. There's only one I select. So what happens when you select? It's gonna be one of this. Like, the problem is that there's a bunch of stuff that are related to the current path. So it is kind of annoying to figure out. Got metadata 0. I guess it's because it's not setting on the tree, I think. So I should probably still put this stuff here. But how does it work? Because it should be getting from this. And this is the name that I set on the other one. So what is going on? It's probably it is removing the full path for all of them. So yeah, it's a function that's so it shouldn't be on the get path function. Maybe it is. I think it's probably on the get path. Because like the behavior is correct, but I have to change for whenever is the root folder. I think I'm not gonna deal with this because it's probably irrelevant since I'm going to change anyway, so it doesn't matter. Maybe I should spend some time trying to understand what happens there. So I'm gonna go based on the select. So like in the beginning, this should be the name, the full name of the thing. And it's gonna join with this thing. So you should have the other name. Hmm. Like it builds from the lowest one, then traverses and joins. So it's probably it has to be something related to the selection. Because the path here should be already included there. I think I have to in the constructor create with the other one as well. I should just copy the pattern that they use because it's gonna change there on the process. But this might be messing up there. I'm gonna try to do that because maybe it solves. Like it is kind of annoying, but I think it makes sense to have the two different pointers. So I think it makes sense to do it like this. So I just initialize the this one and then I delete. So maybe I don't need to, yeah, I don't need to delete. Should just initialize this one. I should make the new file system there here. Make the new one here. Then I don't delete. Just set the pointer there. And then I make it a null here. Let's see if this works. But it doesn't make sense if I'm gonna make a null there anyway. And maybe it doesn't matter. So it should be on the select functionality. Because it's gonna change anyway. Unless I, so what I can try to do is pass the new file system to this one. And then, but then it defeats the purpose. I'm gonna look into the selection functionality here. The thing is, the reason why it's weird is because I think it has to depend on this one. This is just gonna return the name, which is the one that I have there. So I think the selection functionality is gonna depend on the name here because it gets from the subdirectory using the select. This is the reason why it's kind of weird. So if the path is a folder, makes it equal to the current path. Current path should be the name. That's how they are setting there. So it should be the name. The question is why for the folders it removes the like it only gets the last name, I think. Let me see again. Because I think on a file that is on a subfolder is only gonna get show the it's only gonna show the it's not gonna show the full path. It has to be based on the create tree there. There's something. So I guess like I can print. That's probably the easiest way. Because if it is the name, then it means that it's not setting correctly. It shows the folder. So like it's removing the name. It's removing the name of the root. So maybe it's this base there thing. If the cell had the wrong name, then it would be showing. Yeah. Hmm. No, it's because it's getting from the offset of the roots, the paths. So when you click there, because when you click the root, because it doesn't have an offset, just an empty. But that's the part that is weird. Well, I guess it has to do with this base thing here. So when it gets the base, obviously I know for sure that is getting. So I think that the name on the cell is correct. So I think what is happening is that from the name of from the name that you use to create the actual tree, the tree item, it gets the name, whatever name it has from the roots. That's what's happening. So it is setting the name correctly on the roots, yeah, the tree item that is the root folder. But because displays the name from that root, it doesn't display. It displays an empty thing there whenever you select the root. But the question is whether or not this matters, and I think it probably doesn't because of the way that I'm gonna use there. I'm just gonna remove this stuff. But like the thing that I wanna, the reason why I'm not 100% sure is because like if maybe the functionality matters, even though that I'm gonna change there. Because later on I might forget about this, and then I might be doing something else, and then I get an error is gonna be harder to figure out. So I wanna make sure that I'm not missing anything important. Yeah, I think it doesn't matter that much, so I'm just gonna continue. So now let me focus on the collapse state. So this is gonna be on the function that creates the folders. I'm gonna put another thing there. And it's only gonna be on the folders. Yeah, but the problem is that in order for it to solve, let me think about this. Yeah, I can do it for the. So I'm gonna do it now for the roots. I'm just gonna put another variable there. So like find what's, yeah, on this one, what I can do, sure. So it's gonna be an extra variable on this class. And it's gonna be collapse or not. Then I'm gonna have to change this, and I'm only gonna set on the root to see if it works. Then I'm gonna remove the collapse functionality from the other class. And then I'm gonna make it later for all of them based on the save of the states. I need to figure out how to save everything first, and then I can implement this. So I was thinking about initialize everything with false. Maybe I will make as false there. But I have to remember to finish this later. Alright, so I think it's gonna be just a function or a class here. This is what so far, files doesn't make sense. So it's gonna be true by default. Let me think about this. It doesn't matter, I think. So I don't think I'm gonna change here. I'm just gonna change. Yeah, so this is the thing that I was thinking about. Yeah, so probably what I have to do after is just loop over at the end. But I have to see, like, because of the recursion that is kind of annoying to think about. But I think as I call recursively, I check here. So I assume the way that you do the config file there, I'm gonna put a variable on the file system. Then I'm going to, it's just gonna be the variable is gonna be the config itself. So you initialize the config, you load from whatever path you have. Then you check to see if it's valid or not. If it is, then it means that you have a config, and then you can get the values. You can check here. So I'm gonna look for how they do it. So I'm gonna look into the way that they cache everything. It's probably the next thing that I'm gonna do right after this one. So the root's always gonna be uncollapsed. Now I change here. So I'm gonna probably comment out everything that is related to the collapse there. And I'm probably gonna remove this stuff. Or maybe I'll just change I think I'm gonna change this function. The function that gets the collapse. I'm just gonna loop over the file system. Yeah, so get the file system there. Or no, from the file system. Yeah, from the file system get current there. I just loop over. I have to think about. It's probably gonna be. I'll do the function recursive. I'm gonna probably copy the way that they did on the other one. So just call the function recursively and then just check to see. But the question is whether or not that's necessary. Because you can just do subdirectory item set collapse. Based on the IP there. That sounds a lot simpler. So I'm probably gonna remove this because I think it's kind of annoying to do the other function. I think because I would have to do recursively. Hmm. It's probably better also to do the function on the other class. But I'm not really sure. Yeah, I think like it doesn't matter that much. But the problem is I have to see how. I'm not really sure what function is responsible for collapsing. So I have to see how they collapse to make sure that it's not gonna matter. Yeah, this is the problem because when you collapse, you have to remember on the other one. But I think you have to anyway. Like it's not gonna. They have to synchronize anyway, so it doesn't matter. So how can I look into the function that collapses? I guess I have to. The easiest way to go over with the debugger. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. Oh, maybe this is the function that is creating the selection there. It doesn't matter that much. I forgot to to test the search as well. Yeah, so just gonna compile. It looks like it is only using there to create the tree. So it does it indirectly, I think. Or maybe it doesn't. Yeah, but the problem is I'm looking through the one that I have here and already removed a bunch of stuff. I should be looking through the original one. Yeah, that's the problem. I think it doesn't can set it can set to public. Doesn't matter that much. Either that or I can just do the function there, but can do setter and getter, but I don't think it matters that much for something like a collapsed state. Yeah, so they're only using indirectly. I think the only one that caches, I should look into this, but I think regardless of what you do, I should look into the cache actually. But I think regardless of what you do on the editor, it's always gonna open with the root as uncollapsed and the other ones are gonna be collapsed. But I don't know for sure. But based on this, I think that's how it works. So the collapse paths only matter indirectly because you get them through the function, and you get them after you initialize the tree already. So just so that it maintains the same state, regardless of the searches, I think. Maybe the searches change the collapse as well, but it's not related to the cache, I think. Or maybe it is because of the layout. So I have to look into the cache to see if it matters. Or how does it work with the cache. Because this is related to the editor as well. I'm pretty sure that this layout is the way that they save the editor settings, which is going to keep track of the docs and stuff like that. So apparently they do it through this. A restore collapse state. So they're getting the items and then they're sending true false. If it is empty, they set collapse true false. But because it's gonna be, I think like the best way to test is you comment out and then see what happens. Because obviously it's already caching there, so I'm not gonna be able to test by opening and closing. But I think the way that it's working is that if you don't have anything, then it starts off everything with uncollapsed paths. I'll put a breakpoint here. I should put. So this time you open up with this one uncollapsed. So maybe it always opens, but I think it's gonna save here, and then because it saves, it's going to have something on here, so it's not gonna go through this stuff here. And this is just the tree. It's gonna get from the layout, which is the config file, which is gonna save the uncollapsed paths. Save layout config. Yeah, so it gets from the function, obviously. So I think that the function is the only thing that matters on this one. So if I do it the way that I'm doing there, the only thing that is gonna change. But I can like since the question was what happens when you open the folder. So that's what I need to see. What if I change something? Oh, it's gonna test the search. Okay, so it seems that it is working. So how does it work? I guess it gets based on the name. Yeah, so it. So anything that has that name is gonna show. I think for like these items here, I'm gonna remove. I'm just testing out to see because I'm probably gonna use the same or similar functionality because I'm gonna make it on another dock there, the same way that VS Code has. I think that's much better because it's also gonna be involved with the other uh, docs because you have to search based on the content of the file as well, not just the name of the file. So the other thing that I was gonna do, so I have to see. So either I go over the debugger now to see the selection to see if it's related to this, or hmm. What else was gonna do? Oh yeah, I was gonna change to have a button there. I'm not really sure if I should go over. So I was gonna have because I'm not gonna have this in the beginning. So I'm gonna put it on inside of a function. I have to create another function, and it's gonna be set root. It should be public, I think. Oh, it's not here as well. I think it should be public, probably. So I'm gonna transfer this stuff. Oh, it has to receive a path. And now I have to, because it's gonna depend on the way that I have to study the file dialog to see how it passes the path. Now let me think about this. I'm probably gonna put a file dialog, but it's gonna be on the other class. But it's still. I think I have to leave this one here, and I just move because I'm not gonna do this anyway. Uh, like I'm not gonna do. Mm. Probably gonna have to change the other functions. Like I think I have to create a flag variable in this class to because in the beginning I'm just gonna go. So let me show in the VS Code. So if you open VS Code without a path, and you try to open here, it just shows this thing, which I think makes a lot of sense. So that's basically what I'm trying to do. What I think is I'm gonna do there. So I'm just gonna show a button to open the folder. But the question is, so like the button should probably be on the file system dock. Yeah, so there's gonna be a new dialog on the file system dock that is gonna open after you click this folder. So, yeah, so I need to put a button, then connect the signal of the button with the dialog. So what is the best way to do this? And I have to make this based on the flag of the file system. So, because maybe, I think I should initialize everything else anyway, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I don't need a flag actually. I think I don't need a flag. I think I can just leave the RAS as the default folder because on the variable initialization inside of the class, and I just make it by default on the file system dock. But it has to be based on the it has to be based on the configuration on the cache. So I think probably should figure out cache first and then think about this. And then from the cache, I need to. So the question is, what is the best way to synchronize cache? I'm gonna study the cache now. So I'm just gonna study the way that they do the cache. This is the class that they use to save files that are related to configurations. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. You just create a file. But I think that is different on the way that they do it because they do it from the editor node. So they don't have a member variable on this. So I can look into the editor node as well to see, because I'm pretty sure that actually I'm not sure if the editor node has a member variable to save the config. It looks like it just creates and then tries to load values. That's kind of weird. I'm not really sure how that works. I guess the first argument is probably the first argument is the path to the file. So it parses the file. So you just instantiate this thing and then you pass the path where the configurations are supposed to be cached. And that's how it works. So section should be the file. I know that there is a macro on the, I think it's the editor file system. And there's something related to saving stuff. So it's this macro here. A fast cache. So I guess when they are writing to the thing, like they're just manually writing to the file. I thought they were gonna use the config. They are writing to the file and then probably when they're getting the configuration they got from the file that they saved there. I'll be right back. So I'm gonna do half an hour more, and then I'm gonna stop and probably continue to study this stuff off stream. I wanna see if they have examples of uh, anywhere that they put a button there, but it's not that hard to see. I'm probably gonna do it from the editor first. I think I'm just gonna step over. So it looks like they are manually writing to the files, and then they just use the config file to get the values. If they use this. So another question is where should I, because the problem is that there's two different paths. I think probably the editor setting is better to figure this out. I'm gonna put a breakpoint. There's two different paths. There is the app data path, and there is the root of the project. And I think for the stuff that I'm doing, is probably it makes more sense to put on the standard path of the operational system. So there's two different problems. One is that for the Windows I have the build here, but for the other paths I'm not 100% sure how it's going to work. So I guess they probably use this project settings to get the paths. Like I have to see what is the standard way that they do to find the official standard paths for the operational systems of where to save the configuration files. On Windows, I know there's going to be on the app data, and all the apps are going to use the app data path, the roaming and the local. But on Linux, I'm not 100% sure, and on Mac, I'm definitely not sure, because I never used Mac. So I want to figure out how they do this, because they probably have a function on the project settings. And I'm gonna research this anyway later, but I want to see if they have a way to do it. Because I know they have a way actually, because I already went over, but I forgot which function. I know that it is on the editor node somewhere, but I forgot what part. They have a standard path, and I'm pretty sure that it is from the project settings or something. So maybe it is this one. Yeah, it's one of these paths that is the app data path. Oh, this one is gonna be from the well, maybe if I search for app data. Hmm. it might be on the OS. That would make more sense. Executable path. I think it's this paths here, yeah. So it's definitely this part here that it figures out. And this is an option I think you have on the editor settings or project settings to put the files on the roots of the project instead of the standard path of the OS, but it's off by default. And so I'm pretty sure it is this class here and it's exactly this point that I saw before. So it is this functions here. It's probably going to be data path. So what I have to do, so I think on the file system doc, what I have to do is use these functions, then create a variable in the doc that is going to just be this path here. And then I have to look in the constructor, I have to look if it does have the configurations. And then I create a function inside of the like this might be kind of annoying because I'm thinking about what is the easiest way to do this in the beginning, because like either I initialize everything anyway and then I just set inside of the function everything to hide, or like I have to see if I have to remove the confirmation dialogues and all the dialogues from the tree so that they don't show, or I change. I think that's probably easier to make them not show than to change the functionality to change what happens when is the beginning there. Yeah, they don't have the right click here. So like one option is to not initialize anything inside of the constructor if it doesn't have the cache, and then create another function that initializes everything after the cache. But I think either way I'm gonna have to change probably some of the functions. Because I'll have to change the process, the notification function. Yeah, but if I do it at the end, then I don't have to change anything else because I just change the state based on the whatever happens there. I'm gonna write the path. Hmm. I'm thinking, where did they make sure that, like, if I close the editor, how do they make sure that the last state is cached? And I'm not really sure if they do it from the editor nodes or how it works. So I was thinking, like, it would make more sense if everything related to any changes you make are connected to the caching. But also, it does make sense to put it on other places, I think, because you can, like I said before, you can make a difference. You can change the directory from another place outside of the application. So it should be. So I'm just gonna look for all the parts that are related to caching that they have, and then I'm just gonna on my because I removed all the stuff on my stuff there because obviously it's gonna be different. So any place that they create the cache, I'm going to change on mine, but it's probably gonna have to be slightly different as well because I'm not gonna be using the editor nodes. So I assume that they do some because of the layout there, they are probably doing some of the caching from the editor node, and I'm gonna have to put the functionality on the dock, I think. So I have to see if there is a. I know when you close the engine, there is the cleanup functions there, and there should be. I'm not really sure if there is a notification. Probably there is. That has to run before the engine closes or cleans up everything. So I'm just gonna step over. So imagine that depending on what kind of OS you're using, they're gonna have a function there. Let's see Mac OS. So there's the Linux. It's weird. And the get data path. So it looks like it's the WAM. It's weird. It looks like it doesn't have the C++ file for Mac here. Maybe I have to build first. That's kind of weird. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it's this. Yeah, it should be this. So it is on the home library application supports. I guess it's gonna be the same on the other. I'm gonna have to look into this because I'm probably gonna do the same thing for finding the like Python interpreter or different executables and stuff like that. So it saves the editor layouts on the, no, maybe this. I think this is related to the app data. I know that it saves some stuff from the editor on the app data thing. Yeah, so this is probably the one that is there. So it's probably this folder where it saves for each project. And this is not, Turing Complete was built with Godot, so that's why this it has here. So I'm just gonna go over with the debugger. I was gonna look into the file dialog as well. I think I can use the same one, so I should look into the one that I have there. This one. So I'm just gonna copy the one that I have here because it's basically the same thing. I think, yeah, you just use the file dialog and then you set to the open there. I don't have to set the, oh, this is another thing. Hmm. So this one I'm gonna copy from the other one. So I'm not gonna set this in the beginning. But then, like, this is probably how it determines what directory to open. So I'm curious if it doesn't have anything, what's gonna happen there when I open the. So I'm gonna do this now. I'm gonna compile and see what happens. Probably what I'm gonna do is just copy this one that I'm using here. I don't remember why I create another class as well. I think I created another one because I wanted to use the same one that they use on the editor. Yeah, so I should change this to file system as well. So maybe no, I'm not. So I'm probably gonna have to spend time on this one. Sure. Because initially I did this because I wanted the same dialogue that they have on the editor, but now I think about it like, because they have one, the normal file dialog is a part of the scene, so you can use. So this one is probably designed to work with the roots project paths. So I'm probably gonna have to change this one first. Then once I make this one work, if it doesn't already, then I'm probably gonna use the same one. I'm just gonna put a button and then I'm gonna create, use the same one on this class, the file system doc, to open the folder in the beginning. If it doesn't have if it didn't cache any folder before. So I need to cache the folders and the uncollapsed paths. So it's still this is another thing that I was gonna, yeah, I just remember. I was gonna look into this, but I wanted to solve the other stuff first. Because the problem with this one is like, how do you make it go outside of this? But I think just by changing there, so I have to compile again to see if it's gonna work. I think by changing the access to file system is probably gonna change. Now last thing that I'm gonna see, that I'm gonna stop streaming. Ah, nice. So now it shows this, but it's still showing the default here, but I think it's just because it's probably changing there. So the question would be how to how do I determine what thing to show in the beginning? Let me see what VS Code shows. Click to open the folder. It shows quick access. And the dialog that they show is different as well. It's easier to search for RAS, but that's maybe it's not gonna show anything. It's probably this thing here. And the question is, like, it's harder to test, so it's gonna be annoying. But what happens if you don't have the path? Like, if you don't have the project? This is the thing that is kind of weird to me. That's what I have to. But the problem with this is that, like, you have to export the thing, the binary. Then, like, the export binary is just the engine with some extra information and the data written in the executable as well. Either the data written on the executable or the data written on the package file on the same directory as the executable. So the only way to test this would be to, I guess I can create another project So I can take the scene to another project, then export from another project, then delete the project, and then see what happens when you run the executable to see what folder is gonna open. Like if the RAS folder doesn't exist, the project, what happens? Because the information should be set on the project settings. And the question to answer is what is the relationship between the RAS folder and the final executable? I think I have to go back to the export thing there. I vaguely remember it's gonna be on the editor node, file submitted or something. And I just saw for the Windows version. Forgot what was the name of the function. Forgot which one it was. It's gonna be after this. It's gonna call another class. Export results. Oh, editor exports platform PC, I think. So it's gonna be here. But I remember that is very annoying to figure out. But basically what I'm trying to... So I'm gonna write this. I'm probably gonna do... I have to think... I'm gonna think more about this upstream. about the order in which I'm gonna do this. But I need to clarify the connection between the final executable and the special paths, like RAS and user. Like how on the final executable, let's say that on the system that has the executable, it doesn't have the project. How does the final executable is going to perceive the special paths? And how is it going to perceive the project settings as well? Because I think that the information of the project settings makes is not that hard to understand because it's gonna put that data inside of the executable, the final executable, or it's gonna put the data on the package file. So that makes a lot more sense. But the special paths, like even if you translate the special path into the absolute path, it doesn't make sense because like it's gonna be an arbitrary path. So this is the question to answer. I want to think about like what is the best path to put in the beginning, which I think is gonna depend on the OS, but it would be better if I could use a function that already exists on one of the classes. And I also have to clarify this to make sure that I'm building things in a way that is not gonna break later when I have the final executable version. But I'm not sure if I'm gonna spend a bunch of time on this again. Because the main one that uh, does everything is the export project data. And it's kind of confusing because there's some like callback functions and it's kind of there's a bunch of stuff. But I guess the answer is here. So it's gonna globalize the path probably. But it's still kind of because on the final version it's not gonna have the special path. So like the obvious answer it has to be that I should always use for stuff like this. You should always use a path that is gonna be standard on the operational system. I think. But then how does that work on the context of the of Godot? So I'm gonna stop streaming now and I'm gonna think about this and I'm probably gonna continue to work on the list that I have there of stuff to do. So see you next time.